Howdy, folks. Thanks for tuning in. My name's JB Zelke, and this is the Dusty Vaquero podcast. Punchy, poetic, pure. All right, we're still in Elko. Been here for a while now, in the hotel room, doing another podcast. We got Jimmy Cantwell here. Jimmy's from Colorado, or now lives in Colorado. We'll talk a little bit about where he came from and how in the heck he ended up in Colorado, but lives there with his family and got himself a pile of horses, and he's been playing some music out here. This is your first time playing in Elko. What do you think so far? Yeah,
it's all your fault too. So thanks for doing that.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, for real, dude. It's been a blast. It's a cool deal. I'm a little speechless in that regard. For as much as we BS before we started this thing, you hit that little red button, and now I've got nothing to say. My hands keep coming up. I don't know what to do with my hands, So yeah, but no, it's everything I wanted it to be.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Heck yeah. It's busy here in Elko. There's shows constantly in a bunch of different places, and it's like especially when you're playing here, you're trying to keep track of like where you need to be and what you need to know beforehand, and it's pretty wild for this little town to pack all these people in.
Yeah, because we looked it up. It's 20,000 people, so it's a little bit bigger than the main town where we are in Canyon City down there. So, but I keep saying there's a lot to miss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because even today we were running around. I tried to catch, people have been coming to my set, so I try to go to theirs, and I'll catch 2 songs and then run across the street and go see somebody else. And so there's so much to miss. That's the worst part of it all.
Yeah, you're going to miss way more than you get to see here.
Yep.
Well, so let's back it up and let's start from the get-go.
Oh, boy.
You've seen a lot of different, what would you say? Like, you've been around the horse world your whole life, but in a lot of different ways. So can you talk about, like, from the beginning where it all started out for you? Yeah,
my parents, they trained hunter jumpers in Virginia, and my dad it was kind of a neat deal because my dad he was old enough. My dad was 20 years older than my mom, so you can read between whatever lines you want on that one. But he was he was old enough, though. He'd been around some of those old calf guys, and so he'd got to learn from those guys when things in the jumping world were still practical. So it was a neat deal. He was in his own right. From what I've heard, he died when I was really young. He was a great horseman, so I never really got to meet him. But they did that, and then my aunt, his sister, still teaches there, and it was cool because he would go get. There were also still some calf horses left from the remounts. There was a farmer down the road that, when they had shut down. The calf used to breed and raise and train its own horses in these remount stations.
Calf being cavalry.
Cavalry, yeah, United States Cavalry. And so they would breed and train and raise these horses. And that, like, if I'd been alive back in the day, that would have been the job. Cool deal. Because, just that's all they did. And when they sold all that stuff out, this old farmer down the road had gone and bought a lot of that stock. So it was cool because he was one of those guys. He raised horses and he was a horseman, but not the type that rides. You know what I mean? He was good at picking bloodlines and breeding and doing, but he didn't care to ride them. He was just producing them. And so Dad would go get some of these 2-year-old thoroughbred colts that had never had a halter on, and they were like kind of gentle, but they'd been around people, but not much. And so he'd get a couple of those and start them and get them going and selling. So it was a neat deal. Yeah. So there's that.
And where was that at?
That was kind of in like. I say central Virginia, kind of in the foothills, kind of where like Zara's from. So we were from Zara, Alexandria, and an hour north of Charlottesville.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you started out there in Virginia, and then what ended up bringing you out west?
So like I said, my father died. We think, we're not sure. Mom didn't do an autopsy. It didn't matter. We think he had an aneurysm on the back of a young horse one day. And so and then when he fell off, he broke his neck. So at least he died doing
what he loves. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And so when he died, though, Mom took us back home where she was from, North Carolina. And, I just kind of piddled around with that stuff. My uncle was our neighbor next door. And I think my love of all this stuff started because he had a little cow-calf operation. But he was so bad at it, and I hope he never hears this or anybody. He was the worst stockman ever because I think it was just a tax write-off.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot of what not to do, and I just thought like all cow work was the most miserable thing you've ever seen in your life. But I still thought it was cool because I always wanted to be a cowboy, and so that was the punchiest thing I got to do. So we'd process them every year and do that, and then I started playing music a little bit. It was a weird deal. Mom had this old fiddle just sitting around, the same one I've got. And she was going to put strings on it and sell it because it was just sitting around. And I just picked it up out of the box one day and said, Mom, I think I'd like to learn how to play this. And so I did. So we found a lady that taught lessons, learned how to play it. And then I got to jamming in some of those little bluegrass bands in the area and picking around and doing that.
And how old were you at that time?
Man, I think I might have been like 10 or something. I don't know. I really don't remember. I need to look back because people ask me that and I have no idea. But I think I was around that age. So that's kind of a weird thing in that area because at that time it was all Luke Bryan and it was the height of bro country, and I'm wanting to play like hardcore bluegrass. So I was not the most popular guy in school for doing that. I wish but I didn't know it would turn around. Yeah. 20 years later, here we are, but that's okay. That works out.
Yeah, but you were right there kind of in, I guess that's considered Appalachia. I mean, that's that.
Not that part. So I was born in it, but we were pretty far east where I grew up outside of it, but there's still a lot of it. It's just good old country folk.
Right.
A lot of tobacco farmers and all that stuff. So yeah.
Sitting around on the porch picking.
They'd have these there in Laurel Hill, North Carolina. There was this little thing called the picking shed where what was his, we called him Uncle Danny. I don't even know what his real name was, but he was this big old John Wayne character, and he was really good about it. They'd let me go up there and screech on a solo every once in a while and sing a little bit and do it. It was a cool deal. They were really good to me, and so I won't ever forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got into high school and I decided I was going to be Captain America. So that's how I got out here, though. I thought I was going to be Captain America, and so I joined the Army and found out really quick that it was not my thing. And I was a good soldier, but I just the regular Army it's for some people and not for others. And I was a good soldier, but I wasn't going to be the soldier. Yeah.
And so, what was your I don't know what you call it in military terms.
My day job.
But, what was your job in the military?
I was an infantryman, so I was just a grunt.
Right. So your days just looked like working out and doing drills.
Yeah,
and
you know
stuff
what's funny about it is actually what was worse about it is you would think when I thought it was going to be, you get up in the morning, you work out, and you do, and I thought it was going to be a lot of training and a lot of shooting and things like that to keep you engaged. But the thing that drove me nuts is like 75% of it. If you're not in the field, you're sitting around until 7 o'clock at night after PT waiting for somebody to tell you can go home. And I wish I had started writing songs then. Because that will drive you insane. I mean, it was weird just sitting around. So it was a lot of people just kind of wasting time. That's what kind of drove me out of it, was that part of it.
And where did you go? Where did you do your basic?
Fort Benning, Georgia. That's where all the infantrymen go through.
Georgia?
At least they've changed a bunch of stuff now. I'm sure they still do, but.
And then where did you go? Were you stationed anywhere else, or did you kind of stay right around there?
They sent me to Fort Carson, so that's how I got out here.
Oh, got it.
So that was that's where this shit starts to snowball.
Yeah, Fort Carson is in southeastern Colorado.
Yeah, it's right there, Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs, okay.
Yeah, so that's where this stuff starts to snowball. So I get sent out here, and I'm kind of going, I've always wanted to come out here. All I've ever wanted to be is a cowboy, so I start sniffing around it and doing it. Then I got on that one day I figured out that Fort Carson had that color guard deal. So it's basically, I'm trying to like say it in the most like layman's terms I can, so people aren't going like, "What is he talking about?" Because I hate when like a guy that was in the military comes up here and starts using all these acronyms that nobody cares about because it sounds really douchey. But anyways, can I say cuss on this? Okay, it's not like nobody's gonna like find me. Okay, I didn't know. So they have basically these ceremonial cab units all throughout the Army, and they were. They're starting to shut them all down now, and we'll get into that later. But I saw them one day on the parade field driving by, and I thought, wait a minute. So they're active duties guys that are getting paid to ride horses all day and do that. How do I do that? And so I went and I found out how to go try out. You had to go try out, and I got permission. I went down there and tried out for a team, and they accepted me. And they gave me a letter, and I took it back to my unit, and basically they told me to screw off. Like they're like, no, dude, that's the hard part about being like decent at your job in the Army is you get punished for it. And so they were like, no, dude, we're not letting you go. You're absolutely not. Sorry, kick rocks. You're coming to the field with us this summer. So I was like, okay, whatever. And I kind of gave up on that idea. Well, they shot themselves in the foot because I was a decent enough soldier. They needed some people to go interview for. So there's officers and there's enlisted. So basically, executives that went to college, and then people that just earn their stripes through preservation, like working.
Yeah, start from the bottom. Yeah.
So they needed a guy to go interview for the Division Command Sergeant Major, which is the head enlisted guy. So the guy that's worked his way up, right, of the entire of the 4th ID, so Fort Carson basically. And so they said we need every unit to send a guy to go. Audition for it or whatever the word would be. And so I remember the first sergeant walks in, he goes, "You want to interview for the Division Sergeant Major driver position?" And I was kind of like, I don't know, that sounds kind of dumb. I don't really. And he looks at me again and goes, "You want to interview for the Division Sergeant Major's driver position?" And I went, "I want to interview for the division." Yeah, so I got voluntold to do that. But they screwed up because I remember, I'll never forget it. I walked in, he's this big old guy. Just as nice as he could be, because they're all pretty political at that point. Even though they're as tough as they can be, they know they still can smile and shake hands.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Come on in here, Private Cantwell. Why don't you sit down?" He says, "Why don't you tell me about some of your goals in the Army?" And I said, "Well, Sergeant Major, if I'm being really honest with you, my main goal in the Army is to get on your Fort Carson mounted color guard." And I'll be damned, Jake, he reassigned me on the spot.
I'll be damned.
I'm not even kidding. He took me, and that never happens. He looked at me and said, "We need people with passion like you on my color guard. I am reassigning you on the spot." He sent me downstairs. They cut my orders. I took them back, and they were livid. My platoon leader, he stormed out of there. Steam was coming out of his ears, but there's nothing they could do.
Yeah.
The orders were cut.
Came from over his head.
Came from over his head. So that is like, you talk about just like meant to be. Didn't get any more than that. But that was a wild deal. And then I get down there, and I remember talking to my mom, and I said, "Mom, I think this is going to be cool. It's going to be really organized and all this stuff." And, man, that was the wildest bunch of shit I've ever seen in my life. They had all this half-broke, there were a couple good horses, but half-broke thing with these guys that all thought they were the greatest horsemen that ever existed, and the train up for it. And I rode okay, but I didn't ride that good because you had to learn to, you had to jump and ride in formation and use a saber and shoot. So I had a long way to go, and it was not like very regimented or like, this is the process and this is how we're going to train. It was like your uncle throwing you, like, "You don't know how to swim here."
Right, yeah.
Dude, it was, they had, there's a video floating around somewhere of me. They had this whole bareback phase where they just stick you on whatever horses that they felt like that day. And there was a couple, that were pretty easy to ride. And there were a couple that just, oh my God, they break you in half. And we actually retired that horse. We have him now. His name's Gunner. And him and I have I'm glad he's good to my daughter because I'll never ride him again. Because I think he rearranged some of my internal parts. Yeah, dude, I remember doing that it was like 2 weeks solid of just getting on riding horses bareback and round pen every day. And they're doing everything they can to make you fall off. Turning and doing they're having a blast. You know what I mean? This is their, they got terrorized. And so I remember getting out of the truck one day to go to the grocery store, and I shuffled across like you thought somebody'd like put me in a log splitter. It was the funniest thing. But you know what? I thought I was the coolest guy on the planet. You know what I mean? Because I was just miserable, but I was doing what I wanted to do.
Yep.
And so, what else? They made me jump rope a horse one time. So they had 2 guys. Yeah, this dumb stuff, dude. Like, I think they were just trying to get you to be brave, you know, or like whatever. But they were swinging a jump rope, and they're like, all right, go through. And so I had to time it where I ran through, you know, got it through. Yeah, we did that a couple times. It was, you know, the same, probably a little bit like what you had to deal with in Australia. That same kind of like, let's see what he's made of.
See what he's got.
Let's see if we can, how far can we push this before we break him?
So how did your day-to-day change going from infantry to that? Was it
awesome?
That was, then you were full-time deal basically was the horses and the color guard and training for that.
They started them in Vietnam because it was basically a PR stunt. And so, because I always say this, like nobody's going to, a mother and her children aren't going to walk up and pet a tank.
Right.
But they'll come pet a horse. And so they were, and we had, you know, the mules and the escort wagon, which were impressive. We had the only fully restored escort wagon in the United States Army. It had, all the iron was original, and it was a John Deere, which is kind of cool. Just that, you know, prior to the tractor thing, you always forget that they made wagons first. So, but anyways, where was I going with that? Yeah, dude, I just, you know, after you tested and you got what was called your black hat, so you're basically what they'd call a certified rider or whatever, you just start doing missions. And so we had a couple different things. We'd go, we do military ceremonies, change of command, and those were like, you know, in every job you do, there's one thing that sucks about it. That was it. Because you're out there wearing those late 1800s wool uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had like the ranch shirt. We called them ranch uniform. So just like Wranglers and things with Army logos on it and everything. And that was cool. That was when you thought you were like big man on campus, getting to wear that stuff around, you know, showing up to formation. That was it, you know. But not the Cav uniform. That stuff. And their budget was bad enough. I think they were original Cav uniforms that were, or at least they've been used like it. Man, those things could like, well, I'm surprised we just didn't put them on the horse and let them do it. That stuff was rank. Man, I mean, it was. I think that stuff was. It was original. It was had its own delightful smell. But anyways, so you do those. So then those were kind of the boring ones, and you'd sit there while some colonel would talk about what a great time he'd had with the unit and all the farts he'd left in that office and how wonderful they were and blah blah blah. So that was whatever. But we did. The cool missions, you know, we'd go to Cheyenne, and so we'd lead the parades, things like that, or Pikes Peak or Bust. We'd do the grand entry and bring the colors in, and then after they'd pull everybody out of the arena, we'd charge out, pistols firing. There's a cool picture of me at Pikes Peak or Bust. I had a horse that was really slow, okay, and it was embarrassing. And it's this poor old Mustang. He looked like a llama hippopotamus, and he was just as slow as he could be. He'd be working as hard. You'd watch a video, and it'd look like he was running 1,000,000 miles and just giving it everything he's got. And he was like, it'd be like watching a turtle try to like run a marathon against people. It was embarrassing. People come up to me and be like, hey, who's that guy on that slow horse? Me. So I got the idea. I said, I want to use 2 pistols. I said, if I'm going to be slow, I want to be cool. Right. So there's a cool picture of the first time I ever did it at Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo with me. I've got 2 pistols. I threw the reins down, charging out of the arena, just firing off like that. Yeah, it was a blast, dude. Yeah.
And that was like a pretty regular thing that you guys did, is
all
go
summer
shooting guns off the
we did a lot
horses.
of mounted shooting, so that was cool. I got it to where, and my big goal too, and I got it done with a couple different horses. One of your basic soldier tasks back in the day, you had to be able to lay a horse down and shoot over it. And so that was, I said, I'm going to do that, and we're going to get it. So I got it done with my horse down there, and when I came back as a trainer later, we got it done with another one. I threw it into the demo. So yeah, that was. Yeah, and
that can be, even they're shooting blanks, but even then, that's still pretty dangerous. Your wife was in the same unit as you, right?
Yeah.
And she shot herself.
You know, this is a funny story. I love this story. This was at Cheyenne. So you know the Western Airs, they do all that stuff. Well, they have this little Cav, I don't know how they still, with the political climate of the world, it's kind of cool they still let them do it. But they have like Cav and Indians. Like fight battles. Thing they do, yeah, like a battle, and they sent the state. If you've ever been, the track in Cheyenne right there in front of there. So they were a little short on the calf side, so they came up to us and they said, "Hey, would you guys help us?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, why not? You know, that'll be fun." And so they sent their little stage coaches and stuff, and what they were going to do, the Indians, which were a bunch of little chubby white kids, you know, they're on Appaloosas, we're going to trot down. It was hilarious, you know, and rob the stagecoach. And then we were supposed to charge down the track, and we were all going to ride off shooting together in the sunset and hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Well, that's not the way that went. So the stagecoaches go, the little chubby white kids jiggle on down to rob those guys. And so the kid that's in charge of the Western area, she goes, "Okay, here we go, play the bugle." And they played the bugle sound, and they start trotting. Well, our horses have been galloping hard for like Cheyenne's, like 11 days? So like like 5 days, like they were ready to go, dude. I mean, hard, as fast as we could go down that track towards the other end. And so we didn't know that they weren't going with it. Like they were just jogging like down there, you know, like with their little guns bouncing.
And you guys are full speed
going. And my horse had been sick, so I borrowed somebody else's. And oh my God, dude. And I wasn't like super familiar, and I thought I was going to be cool. And I had a rifle and a pistol, and I was going to fire my rifle and drop it because you had those slings, and pull the pistol out and start doing that. Well, I wasn't super familiar with them, and I still had one of the Cav at that point used these things called these Schumacher bits, and they're big curb bits. I mean, they're, you know, they've got a 6-7 inch shank on them. I mean, they're pretty hardy bits. So that horse took off, and I couldn't have stopped that horse if I'd shot him. Like, he was gone, dude. I mean, down that track as hard as he could go. I'd fired one shot with a rifle, and the thing I was most terrified of was running into one of those kids, because I thought it's the last thing we need is to kill some chubby little white kid dressed up like an Indian, like this bad PR.
In front of thousands of people.
Well, yeah, there's going to be you know that Border Patrol picture of that guy that looked like he was hitting with the reins? That would have been our version of that, you know. Yeah, right. Cav soldier, yeah. But at the same time, same thing is happening to Autumn, and we're trying to avoid all these kids and riding through, and she goes to, in the mess of it all, she goes to reach for, I can't remember what she did. You know how you can kind of flip those things down? Mm-hmm. But she forgot she'd had it cocked or something, and she went to roll the pistol down, so she grabbed the reins, and as she did it, it went off.
Right into her leg.
Right into her leg, yeah. And it looked like the real thing. It was a bad deal, you know, and so...
and that was, you know, that's pretty realistic, though. Imagine how many guys did that in battles back in the day, accidentally shooting themselves.
It's funny you say that. I've thought about that a lot, especially because we did a lot of training. The place we were at in Fort Carson was an old ranch donated by Spencer Penrose about the turn of the century, so it was about 1,500 acres. And so we did a lot of training it was a horseman's paradise, dude. It had every feature you needed. And one day we'll have to go check it out. It was cool. And so, but we'd do a lot of training back there, set up courses through the woods and stuff, and I had to work with those guys a lot about just traverse from left to right. You know, it was very regimented about not
swinging and shooting your horse in the head.
Yeah, not flagging your horse. You know, not going across, or even just shooting his ear. Just, you know, where you fire that shot, so you're not just terrorizing him in his ears. You know, and things like that. So yeah, I've thought about it. It's funny you say that. I wonder how much of that happened in real life, and even with the saber too. Because the saber, I mean, it's just a giant blade, and when things get wild sometimes, because the horses, some of them were pretty gentle and some of them were not.
Right.
So we just taught the guys just look and chunk it if you need to.
Yeah, just pitch it and be done.
Just pitch it and be done with it. You know,
and we should also clarify, just to be clear, your wife is fine now. She didn't die from shooting. Yeah, she got a cool scar.
I like to show it off. Cool story. She's pretty tough. I like telling people that. I'm like, yeah.
Shot herself in a battle at Cheyenne.
Shot herself the Battle of Cheyenne against
the tribe of chubby white kids.
The chubby white natives, the chubby white tribe up in Cheyenne. It was a tough battle.
All right, so you did. So how long were you in for? You were in for 4 years.
4 years.
4 years, and then you got out, but you didn't necessarily leave. You were still a part of it.
I did for a long time. So we got out, and then we decided we wanted to start. I just wanted to start riding horses for the public, so I just went to riding colts. I did that for, I don't know, a number of years. I'm not good at math. That's why we're here doing this music. If I was good at math, we'd be doing, like, I don't know, helping Elon Musk send rockets into space, but we're doing music and horses, golly. So I did that for a number of years, rode for the public and did that. So, and it's a weird area because it's kind of like, the thing I've decided about that, if you're going to do it, for anybody who's thinking about it, like, go to Weatherford. somewhere like that where you've got, people, you're going to get consistent business. If you want to start colts, go somewhere where they need you to go start colts. Because if you're trying to do that kind of in your average area, you're not going to get most of the horses you want. You'll get one or two a year that'll just make you go, yeah, this is why I do it. But most of what you're going to get is 13-year-old pasture ornaments that a 65-year-old retired person says, hey, I think I'd like my grandkids to ride this twice a year.
Right.
And then get mad at you when it doesn't turn out to be so.
And where were you? Was this still kind of around Fort Carson where you're doing that?
Yeah, in Fremont County. So down there in that Canyon City,
okay,
Penrose area down there.
And I just had Matt Robertson on here, and we were talking about how I think for people that are not really hands-on in the horse industry, when the word horse trainer is thrown out there, I think people think that every horse trainer does the same thing.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Matt specifically he just starts colts.
Yeah.
He's like elementary school for horses, and then he passes them on when they graduate to the next. But what you're talking about is you're more almost doing like corrective horse training in some ways.
If I could have just, that's what I meant to, because the other thing about where Matt is Matt, he's where they need that. So what I didn't understand is that, go to Arizona, go to Weatherford, go to these places where, you can keep a barn full of colts, and that's what you'll get to do, And so I would have, if I could have kept a barn full of colts, I'd still be doing it, because I just love it, dude. Even a tough colt is even a tough colt is better than somebody's put a lot of work into teaching it how to work against you or how to get, so
having to undo a bunch of stuff somebody already did.
Yeah, or just trying to convince him that what you're trying to offer him is better for him. Because that horse, to him, he's kind of going, no, I've played this game. He says, I know that what I've got planned, that what that horse is saying is, I've got these tools, and I know that this is going to work better for me than what you're trying to offer me. So you have to get through all of that and all of those horses' tools until finally he goes, well, nothing's been working, so I think let me see if what he's got to offer is going to be all right. So, yeah, and even in that, it's funny you say that. Even in colt starting, I mean, what are you starting colts for? You starting for cutters, cow horse guys, reiners, or whatever. I mean, and even then, you could have two cutting horse trainers. We're starting two colt starters, starting colts for cutting. Wow, what a tongue twister that is. And they're not going to do the same things. I mean, they're not focused on and that's part of the thing about that world that drives you nuts is it's just everybody, the amount of opinions and the amount of everybody's doing this different or doing that, it just is overwhelming. Yeah.
And how many years, so you leave the Army, and then how many years are you riding colts or just riding horses for the public?
I don't remember. I couldn't tell you right now. I'd have to look at it. But I know that the contract, when I went back to work for the Army, I kind of there's a huge, I was just doing it and wasn't paying attention to the time. So I couldn't even, I got out in 2017. And so then about, what was it, dude? Was it 2022 that I went to go back as a contractor? Maybe, yeah. So maybe it was I don't know, 5, 6
4 or 5, 6 years.
Yeah, I was straight doing that, yeah.
And then you go back to working for the Army as a contractor. You weren't in the Army, but you were working for them.
So I got to do all the cool parts of that job, and I got to be fat, and I got to have a beard, and I didn't have to show up performing. Yeah, I got to do all the cool things, but I didn't have to put up with any of the BS. Yeah, so then I trained, because they were in kind of a rough spot, because the Army's figuring this out now the hard way because they've shut a lot of the smaller ones down. Because I think what happened was for years and years there have been enough people in this country that had good horse experience that those programs could kind of maintain themselves as people came and went. But as time has gone on, I mean, it's just like ag and everything else. There's less and less of that, of people that grew up doing it or still want to do it. And so they've just deteriorated. So it got to the point it was in rough shape. So they were looking to bring on a guy, and so I had to learn how to do the whole contracting process, and that was a nightmare. That was wild. I can't believe I pulled that off. That was a lot of hoops to do, and I will never do it. I don't care if you said, we'll give you $1 billion. You just got to go back through that. No way. I'm good.
The process, there's just so much paperwork and stuff you have to do.
Yeah, because they just make you, because when they brought it to me, they made it seem like that I was just going to It's going to be like eBay. Like it was just going to pop up on eBay and I could just bid on it. No, it took a couple months for me to get everything straight.
Dang.
And bid on it. And then even the contract, I got some insight into that. The contracting process in our military, in our government stuff, no wonder we're blowing money and doing things because it's so screwed up. They had to fight to hire me because it's to the lowest bidder. So there was this like weird thing. They were going to hire some like Western pleasure trainers out of North Carolina to do that job for like $40,000 a year. And you had to travel with them and I was like, that's not, I don't know what y'all are going to get, but good luck with that. But they were like, look, because I wrote I was like, hey, this is what I do. This is what I can offer you guys. And so they went and fought for it a little bit and were like, no, we need that guy. So talk about the heart. That broke me when they said, oh, I think we're going to go with this. You didn't get it. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Could you imagine
after
like
that whole process?
After that whole, yeah. And how's a Western pleasure trainer going to teach somebody to shoot off of a horse?
Right. So when you got this contract, basically you were contracted to train horses and also train men?
Yeah, dude, it was cool because I'd get guys from one of my best buddies in the world. He just came back from Korea. His name's Justin Robinson. J-Rob grew up in Ohio and had never even touched a horse to my knowledge. And by the time we were done, he's one of my favorite horsemen I know. For as much as we got to do, he just had a natural instinct. A bunch of those guys, like Ethan Isaacs, and I'm giving them shout-outs because they'll probably listen to it and go, oh, yeah, you're cool. And Ethan will come to Dusty Vaquero days, too.
Perfect.
He was there, yeah. But a lot of those, it was really neat. And even when I saw that, what's interesting about people that get in the Army, if they'd ridden a little bit before, they'd be kind of like, well, I know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Well, I'd have the guys that had never touched a horse in 6 months, they'd be out pacing them just a little bit overall. Yeah. So it was awesome. And then we did a decent amount of training with Special Forces, too.
Yeah, you were telling me about that you got to go out with those guys, and they'd be, fully kitted out.
Yeah.
Our best soldiers that we have to offer.
Yeah.
And they needed to come learn about horses because you never know when you might need that skill on a mission somewhere.
Yep, and let me tell you something, an M4 can chew up the snot out of a good saddle. So we'd be able to, towards the end, we got a little careful. Because where they'd wear those things on their kit, the mag will stick right out here and it'll sit right on the pommel of that sucker, and the end of that mag will just, as you're riding along,
just chew it up.
Eat the snot out of it. And we found it out just a little too late with some of those saddles we had, but it was cool. Yeah, we taught them how to ride and pack. We spent about 2 weeks with them. And then at the end of that, we'd take them on a mission. We'd meet up with them somewhere, and we'd ride out to a certain point, and they'd dismount and go off and do whatever they were going to do. So it was a cool deal.
And when you're doing all this training, is it in Western saddles, or do you have like cavalry saddles, or what did you use?
What we would do, we had both. We had McClellans and Western saddles, and we had a few English saddles too for various purposes and letting people experience it. But we mainly put them in Westerns just because it's a little more. We do a little bit with the McClellans just to change it up, but just because we didn't have but so much time. Mm-hmm. It was easier, just being flat out honest, it was easier. Now, we talked to them about different saddles, and I was straight up with them. I said, guys, I don't know what you're going to – wherever you are, it might be worth buying some stuff and bringing it with you because I don't know what you're going to have. It's kind of like what you said about going – when you went down to South America and it was like 2 boards on a – Yeah, I was just straight up with them. I said, you guys might invest in bringing some stuff with you. That way, at least you know what you've got instead of showing up. And we did a little bit of stuff bareback so they could feel it. But it was safer and it was easier on our horses. Because the McClellans are funny, man, because they're cool and they're good saddles if you know how to adjust them. They've got a lot of straps and a lot of different things. And I really like them because I took the time to learn how to get along with them. But they're really adjustable. And so you can set them up for whatever. And that's what they were made to do. So you can change anything on it to fit any horse you've got because the lifespan of a calf horse was not very long. Mm-hmm. So we did a little bit of both, but it was honestly just easier. Throw them in a Western saddle, and they got, if they got to where they could sit a trot and kind of do, then they had, and those guys are so brilliant, that's all they were going to do anyways. Mm-hmm. And they'd got good enough at it. If they needed to get better, they would have got better, but was there ever any teams that you trained or anything that you heard of them then going on and using what you taught them? No, they haven't done much with that since all that initial stuff in Afghanistan. But even if it was going on, I wouldn't I wouldn't know about it.
Yeah, they wouldn't tell you.
I've got another good buddy that was in 10th group. I didn't work with him. We just knew him outside of that. He's one of my other good friends' brothers. They stay up on that training quite a bit. They stay ready for anything, but to my knowledge, they haven't had to need it.
Right.
But also, then again, how would I know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'd be the last to know if they were actually using it. Yeah, but they were all about it.
Because we talked about this when I was down at your place, but that movie 12 Strong about those guys that, but at that time those guys had no training.
Yeah, because they thought that was just, why would we do that? It didn't even come across their
Right.
minds. And
so then that happens where that was an essential part of warfare.
Yeah.
And then the government was like, okay, maybe we should train these guys.
Yeah, and I think most groups, at least once a year, they go do something. They go do, whether it be with sombrero ranches or whatever, they go, to different. We were kind of a cool deal because we really went a little more in depth because they didn't have to pay us for it. It's just something for us to do. So we'd go more in depth as much as we could to try to get them. Like some places they'll show up and they just throw them on horses. They just kind of get to feel it and they go a little ways and then it's basically like a dude deal. But we really tried to kind of set them up to be like, hey, if you're in this situation, these are the things you need to look for. This is what you need to think about. This is what you need to know to be able to accomplish the mission. Just to be able to get from point A to point B with all your gear and all your guys intact, ready to do what you have to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Was there, whether it's in the Army or just doing stuff for the public, do you have like a horse wreck that was like the worst one that you think back on?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So this is riding for the public. I had... this is the one that, everybody has one wreck that, like, really kind of changes them a little bit. Man, I had, there was this guy, I hope he listens to it because I'm still mad at him. There was this guy that all my worst clients came out of Guffey, and I knew some good ones, but a lot of the crazy ones live up in those mountains, and you figure out why they're there. He had come down with these 2 paint horses, and he had done his best to teach them, really get them good at bucking. I mean, he'd really, they had raised them, so they loved them. And I get it, but they had done such a terrible job of riding them that these mares were good at it, man. They'd learned how to do it, and just tough. And so I spent, he wanted to get to where he could ride them, and I was at that point. I look back on this, and I'm like, why did I even try? But anyways, so we spent so much time. We had them for maybe a month or so, and then he didn't want to leave them in training. He said, what if I come down once a week? I said, yeah, okay, all right, sure, whatever. And we worked both of them for about 3 months, and I said, hey, why don't we just pick one? Because there's a lot of work to do in both these horses, and why don't we just get one going? So then we spent about 6 months on these horses, and this one mare, and long story, I pulled out everything, every trick I'd ever heard Tom or Ray had used, anything I needed. By the end of 6 months, I promise you, Jake, one day that old man showed up, and he got on that paint mare with my mom as a witness, because she was there, and he rode off on a little trail and came back, and it was a good ride. It went okay. And he did that maybe one more time. Well, then winter hit. That was in October's time frame. Winter hit, and he didn't touch him one time. He came back that spring, wanted to start all over again, and I was hoping to God, I thought maybe, let's see what's here. And I went to get started on that mare again, and we were starting all over it. And I just, there's, when you're riding 10, 12 horses a day, trying to survive in kind of a tough area, it's a lot of work, and I was tired. And a lot of people doing this stuff won't admit to this stuff, but you get kind of grumpy sometimes. I was kind of grumpy. I was just sick of it. I thought, here we go again. I was kind of mad because that guy hadn't done his homework, staying up on top of that. He didn't want to pay me to keep him, but here he comes again. I have to start all over. So I said, I'm not going to spend 2 hours on groundwork just to get this thing for a measly $50 just to get this thing where I can maybe put a little ride on it. So I'd put a pretty good bronc ride on her the year before, and I said, I'll be damned, I'm going to do it again. I just said, I rode her before, I'll ride her again. And I just didn't, I made a decision. I just said I was going to do it, and it was the wrong decision, and I threw up on top of her, and she was ready for me. And she kind of twisted after she got tight, and she went to buck, she kind of twisted and went like that, and I got kind of lodged, kind of broke me loose, and I went up, and came down on the saddle with my knee. And then she went, I can't remember exactly, it's all a blur, but then whatever she did as she was bucking, I got slung under her. And I hung up in a stirrup. And she was running sideways. Luckily, she was going sideways. I wasn't being drug up against her legs. So she was going sideways, looking at me like that, and I just rolled up like that because I was waiting for her to kick me. A lot of them will do that once you get in there. Yeah. So I remember just, it was a weird moment in my life because I remember just kind of going, well, this is it. I've been waiting on it. I knew it was going to happen one day. I mean, just the chance of like, you're waiting for that one wreck, and I thought that was going to be it. But then I broke loose finally, and she didn't kick me. And I look up, and I can't move my knee, and I look up, and she's booging around back at me, and so I roll over, and I'm kind of I'm not like subtle when I get hurt, so I'm going like that, and so, but that one sticks out, because that one changed. That one and the most insulting thing about it all is I did all that, and the guy didn't even pay me. He took off and never saw him again. So after doing all that work, he did, and I just thought, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So that one. Yeah, that one sticks out.
It's funny you bring that up because Matt was just talking about how at one point in his life he was going through some pretty tough stuff, and he was kind of just a grouchy guy at that point. And one of his friends is like, man, I bet those horses hate to see you coming.
Yeah.
And he didn't think much of it, and then he spent some time days after thinking about it, like, what does that mean? And I think he said it was Ray Hunt or somebody said that a horse is just a mirror of what you are, and your horses are that way. And it made him start doing some reflecting on himself, thinking about going to those horses angry and in a hurry and stuff like that. And he said it was night and day difference once he started thinking about it that way, that he wanted to go to those horses in the right mindset.
Yeah.
Or just leave them alone. So thinking of that story, you're like stomping in there like, all right, let's just get this done.
Do it. Yeah, and I think it's human. I think that's the part and all that stuff is that it's all, a lot of people in horsemanship we get into, there's a lot of people out there that are going to give you the most beautiful part of it. But I think we need to talk about a little of the reality of it, and I'm glad he said that too, because when you're working that hard and doing that, it can get to you a little bit, especially if you just feel like you're not getting anywhere and you're not making any money, because it looks like it pays good, but it's like we talked about, it's just like music. By the time you pay every middleman in there, you're barely getting by.
Right, yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, let's circle back to music now.
Yeah,
because
that's the thing we came for.
That's how we got to know each other is through music. And so you've been cranking away at the music for a year or two now, like really trying to get out there and play more shows and stuff, which you've been playing your whole life, but these last couple of years you've started taking it more serious and booking gigs. And
so I hadn't when they shut down when I lost that job, the color, because that was cool, that kind of brought me out of a funk, even with the horses. The best thing I ever did for my horsemanship was stop trying to do it for a living, because that was the bind. I was just worried every day, but then I went and did that job, and it was cool because I felt more comfortable and everything was okay. But when they shut that down, I thought, man, it just kind of hurt, because it meant a lot to me, and we were doing okay, and things were looking up, and it just, what are the odds? So it just was a kick in the teeth, and I lived on that place. There was a cabin there. I lived there for like 2 years, just took care of the horses. It was a dream, man. It was awesome. And so it hurt my feelings a little bit. But my wife and I decided we'd just go get real jobs for a little bit, and we wanted to buy a place. Mm-hmm. And so she started working for the state prison and ended up running the saddle shop, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And I went and started driving a fuel truck, and I hated it.
Yeah.
But I told myself I had a cool gray mare, and I was gonna work on showing her a little bit, and maybe have some success in the show pen, and then maybe I'd get a little nicer colt, keep some stuff and just kind of build on that. And I'll be darned if she didn't break her leg. She fractured her short coffin bone on some freak deal. I showed her on a Saturday, and the next day we were hauling her to Greeley, and that changed my life. That was a pretty big kick in the teeth. And driving up there, I have a 97 F-250 with 420,000 miles, and it is tired. And it'd been a great truck the whole time when I was making plenty of money, and then driving up there to take that mare to Greeley to save her, the fuel pump sprung a leak, Jake, I went through like $400 in fuel just to get to Greeley and back.
Oh, man.
It was so bad, I thought they were going to pull me over and be like, dude, you can't drive this thing. It was spewing fuel. I took a video one time at a crazy rate, and then for the next 4 months, they couldn't figure out what kept. I burned through a couple of them. So something was doing it. I don't even remember what it was. And I had just kind of gotten to the point where, man, I was in a bad way. Mm-hmm. And I had nothing left, and I just thought, what am I going to do? Everything I'd kind of wanted to do, and so I just started writing songs. I thought I'd give it a shot because I had nothing to do in that cab but think. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I was thinking about all the bad things that happened and whining and doing. I thought, well, I'll try to turn this into something.
Right.
Yeah. And then that's where I found Dusty Vaquero, too. And so I started watching, and I was like, oh, wait, there's a thing for this. So after I'd got a few songs put together, and it was cool because I've not had a lot of luck in just reaching out to people and doing stuff, man. And you were the first. I really appreciate it. You were the most approachable. Like when I sent you that stuff when you were in deer camp, I never expected to hear back from you. Like everything else, you send that stuff out, and then you were like, "Oh crap! Well, hey, let's talk when we get back." And that changed. I was like, "Oh wow, I can do this." So that meant a lot. That was the first when we sat down and recorded. That was the thing that made me go, oh, if I put some effort in this, maybe I can turn it into something.
Right. Yeah, those, you sent me some Facebook videos of you playing, and I was probably at 10,000 feet in deer camp with very little service. And I got those, and I was trying to watch them, but the service was so bad that you said, I don't even know if this is worth listening to. You weren't sure about it. And I could only get the first 15 seconds of one of the videos to load.
That's so funny.
And that was all I needed.
Oh,
I was
cool.
like, this guy's got something.
That's funny.
So we started talking. Then I went down to your place after I got out of the mountains, and you taught me a bunch. You put me on a colt named Van.
Yeah. I love Van. Dude, we know the people that have those. I love that. Or that. If I had horses like him, I'd still be the dude. I love Van. I forgot about all that. Yeah. See, I have a hard time. I forget about things. I'll put it on. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. You put me on a colt, and I'm no great rider or trainer or anything. I can just get by. And so you taught me a bunch in the arena, and then we went up and rode around kind of up in the canyons up above where we were at. And then we shot a video next to your horse trailer. That was the first one we did.
Did you know what cracks me up about those videos? I told the Jake Riley, the poet today, he likes that Foolish Cowboy Dream song. But what's funny about that video you took is it always makes me go, but I like sending people to it because I played it today. I hadn't really finished it when we did that, and that is the worst. The first part's strong, and then by the end of it, I just trashed the snot out of it because I didn't know how to sing it. All those songs were so new. Mm-hmm. I'd barely sung them a handful of times, so I just butchered the end of that song. So it'll be fun. I like sending people to go watch it after I play it because now I've got that. I figured out how to sing that one verse, and then I wrote that other one after you left. Yeah, so that was cool.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most special parts really about the videos. Some of the Dusty Vaquero videos is some of them are polished songs that people have been playing for years, but I do a ton of videos that are brand new songs. Sometimes they're going out to the public for the first time ever. Nobody's ever heard them until they see the video. Yeah. But I think, you're not the only person that's happened to where we get an early version of the song and we put it out. And it's not the same as the finished or the polished version, but I think there's something special about that even to the public to see that, art is it's always in progress and it's always being refined, and your skills are always being refined, your songwriting and songs themselves are always being refined and kind of changed up until you get them to where you want them to be. So looking back on that, I think it's pretty cool.
It is cool. And I like you said, I appreciate it a lot because it's like a home video. It's like, hey, check this out. Look when this idiot was doing that. It's a lot of fun to look back on. And it just, I think that there's even just with AI, there's so much stuff in this world that everything's putting up such a front. People are just kind of dying for things that are imperfect or real or just make them feel like, oh, I'm a normal,
just authentic.
I'm just like that. I'm just as normal, and it makes them feel good. So you're right, because it is. Yeah, there's a lot of fluff.
Yep, that's it. And you've been writing some great songs. Well, the first, I think you played a set. I think it was yesterday, and I got to introduce you and Matt and Matt Robertson and Clancy Ballard, and it was a set all about horses that we once knew. And but you closed it out on a song that was the first. You said it was the first song you ever wrote, and that song, I don't know if you could tell up there on stage, but there was a lot of people crying.
Oh, really? I thought I butchered. Dude, I think that's my worst set I played this whole deal.
Well, there was. I was looking around the room.
Really?
And, I mean, there was people wadding up tissues.
Sweet.
There was.
Okay.
I mean, there was.
That works. I couldn't see.
There was grown men, cowboys in there crying. But you've got quite a few songs like that are just so authentic to, especially people that have lived around horses their whole lives and have strong connections to them. Your songwriting is great, and it hits on a thing that a lot of people have a hard time putting their finger on, but they dang sure feel it when you sing it.
Dude, I've been thinking about because when I'm learning up here in Elko, you do a great job hosting these things too. I just want you to know it's cool.
I black out and ramble.
Yeah, dude, me too. It's funny you say that because that's what I'm doing on stage. So I studied a little bit yesterday. I did my or the day before, whenever it was. I went and watched the set that you hosted with Dave and Trini and Sterling, and I sat back and watched, because the big thing I'm learning up here is, okay, like, what makes those guys those guys? Mm-hmm. And the one thing I picked up on is, like, that set, I think I tried too hard because I was coming off a high because the Monday night show was fun. But I also didn't try to. We just went out there and let it flow, and it was a fun show. And I put too much. I was trying too hard. And so I think that what I've learned, and like Dave walks on stage and does what Dave does and doesn't. And so the rest of these sets, I've tried to just kind of settle down a little bit, just sing the song, say a little bit, leave that as it is, and do. But where are we going with that? That was a weird tangent.
I would just say I thought you did great in that set, and I know everybody in that room did too. That set was
cool.
Sold out. They couldn't fit another person in that room.
That was cool.
Which was very cool to see. There was a line that went out and clear around out through the foyer, and it was people loved it. But we're talking about the music stuff now, and you're kind of at the beginning part of your journey with music, or at least doing it as a job. What do you think what's been some of the like biggest hurdles that you've hit once you started going after this?
Can I backtrack for half a second?
Sure,
and we'll come to that. I finally remembered. It's a good thing I'm better writing songs than like thinking. Because thinking is hard. So what I was going to say about that, I think that I've thought a lot about these cowboy songs, and there's some guys that are really good at trying to write songs about cowboys. And I think what I'm trying to do is write songs for them.
I can see that.
You know what I'm saying? Like the feelings that we don't want to talk, that feeling of like when you finally have to put that old horse down or do, or like that you just don't want to talk about or do, that you kind of, I think that's the point. Yeah.
I think you nail it with several of your songs. That's a great way of putting it.
The rest of them suck.
No, but as far as like hitting that, idea that these are not songs about cowboys, they're for cowboys. I'd never really thought about that before, but you've got several songs that hit the nail on the head with that, where it's because those songs probably won't hit to people that don't live the lifestyle. But that's not always the most important thing. Yeah, because I do a lot of that country music stuff too, and then what the irony of that is like the cowboys still get them because they're just cowboy songs. I just took the word horse out of it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like even that song, if you really if you read through the lyrics of it, I don't really say that it's a horse. It could be your dad that you wish you could have one more. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. But right.
Anyways, to talk about the hardest thing. In some ways, I've been really lucky. The hardest thing is at this point, trying to navigate it and figure out what's the right thing to do. It's interesting how, like, I remember when I started singing again, I was up on stage and I was just like, man, I just wish I was on a horse. It's interesting that how some people in lives can feel so uncomfortable on the back of a colt. Mm-hmm. And I've just ridden enough now that like that's like a natural thing. Mm-hmm. Trying to make decisions and like in my decisions of what I do to encourage that colt to do the things I need him to do have become so instinctual. Or in this, man, I have no idea how to navigate. Like it's clueless. Right. Because I don't. So I'm just trying to be. I'm going on a little bit of faith.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like I said, I've been lucky. Like meeting Zara and her, hooking me up with Mike and Mike's been great and helped me out. Mike LaPinto and Zara Alexander. Like, for those of you who don't know, Mike is he plays guitar for Chris Stapleton and he produces some. He's a great producer, and even more important, he's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that drew me to him. He's got a family, and his wife does a lot with the horses, so we've got a lot of common ground. And so, if I'm being honest, the biggest thing is, just trying to make the right decisions. Like the thing I'm doing right now is I'm not trying to play too many shows because I'm just losing my ass on it. Because I have nothing out, so nothing pays good enough. And I hate to sound like a curmudgeon about this money thing, but the reality of it is for all of us that like we have to like survive. And if you just do things until you go into a hole, you're not going to be able to do them anymore.
Right.
And I guess I got that from the horse thing because, trying to feed them all the time.
Right.
So I've been kind of careful about like where my resources go. So I'll play, I'm playing some of these big things, like DVD's a huge deal. Mm-hmm. That's the coolest thing in the world, but I'm not working really hard at playing a lot of other shows because like me and Zara went on a little shoot through Texas all the way to Galveston, and it just wasn't, unless you have music out, it doesn't add to. People go, who are you again? Oh, that's kind of neat. I'll see you later. Mm-hmm. So I've got to buckle down and get songs recorded and get them out, and that's the fun part. But
right.
Yeah, just knowing what to do.
Yeah, so the biggest hurdles are not on stage; they're off stage. It's what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, I don't worry about that too much. I'm learning and doing. It's kind of like I treat it kind of. If I had treated my horses like I do the music, I'd have a lot better horses. I'm working on it. Like I said, I'm studying. Mm-hmm. On stage, I guess, too, the thing I'm learning to do, like I said, is trying to create a consistent performance. That's what I'm learning right now. Elko, I've studied a lot this week and put a lot of thought into. I think that set that we did together, I think that was my worst because I tried too hard. The first one was good because I was a little bit nervous. I was a little bit reserved. I didn't overstep. We had good chemistry on stage. That one, I was coming off a high, so I was just like, and then I felt pretty dumpy about it the rest of the time. But this morning, I settled back down for my set by myself, and I was super happy with it. Mm-hmm. So just trying to build a consistent performance without it coming up, without being too much of one way or the other. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of a challenge because and I've written 70 songs in the last 2 years.
That's great.
So what the heck do I play?
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad playing like the same songs, but like even today I gave up and I played, I had a bunch of new songs that I wanted to try out, but the set kind of went a certain way, and so I played Sleepless again, and it fit right in. Mm-hmm. And so, what do I play, and then how do I present it?
Right.
Those are the two, trying to figure that out.
And those just come with time and experience.
Yeah.
What do you think is the, little victories are also very important. Yeah. What do you think has been your kind of biggest victory that you've had in the couple of years you've been doing this?
In the music thing?
Mm-hmm.
I think there are quite a few. I think getting to go record with Mike and having a guy like Mickey Raphael say he'll play harmonica on your favorite song, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, Mickey Raphael being Willie Nelson's harmonica player.
Yeah, and just getting to sit here and do this, feeling like I'm not out of place, that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Just even the little performances, just having these folks I've never seen before just come up and say nice things, it means a lot because there's a lot of days where I'm like, why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like this is, here we go again. It's kind of like the horse tail. I'm like, oh man, here we go again because I've never been good at making money. I'm not. And it costs a lot to record this stuff and do, so it freaks me out because I have a family, so I have to keep that
right
in mind,
Yeah, because there's a lot of guys out there too. I was just talking to Brady Stovall the other day, and he's a young single guy in his early 20s, and he's, it's a perfect time to go out and couch surf, and you don't need nothing. I mean, that's when I was traveling the world, it was the exact same situation for me where I didn't really have any responsibilities at that point in my life, and it becomes very different when it becomes a team effort and you've got people relying on you, and it's definitely not impossible, but it's a slightly different approach
It takes it to a different level too. Yeah, and trying to keep horses. What an idiot! I mean, I'm just the biggest dummy. Yeah, so trying to keep that, just trying to keep it where it's not a drag, because, like you said, I put a lot of effort into that too. Because in the end of it all, at some point somebody's going to forget. Everybody will forget I exist and these songs ever existed. But you'll still have your folks around you. So that is
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's that one song that we recorded. It's kind of like that when we went down to Texas, and I remember it was just rough, dude. And I was sitting by we'd gone down by this little river, and it was funny because it was hot as snot, and we were with the band we were playing with, and the guy they wanted to go cool off the creek, and the guy that was at the restaurant, he said, "Well, if it's not flowing over the dam, don't stick your head under it." And I thought, I'm not getting in it. I'm not going to touch it. So I sat there and I wrote this song. And the chorus goes, someday I'll be an old man wondering where my life went. I hope I feel that it was well spent when my time is at an end. And I think that's the biggest thing I'm trying to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and in all regards.
Yeah, how could you ever hope for more than that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing to aspire to. Yeah, that's, it's been pretty cool watching you go through this and get to play these gigs and stuff. I enjoy getting to.
Man. It's cool just getting to hang out with you. You're the coolest guy I know.
No. Yeah. Well, and you're coming back to Dusty Vaquero Days again. This year. What did you think of last year?
Awesome. And I was still so new to it. I was kind of just whatever. I can't wait to give Cade a hard time. Just hang out with Cade the whole time. He's cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
it's an awesome deal. And you're doing a great job. It's unparalleled. And it's helping a lot of people like us do. So we all appreciate it. From all of us, no-name musicians to you, thanks for doing it.
Well, awesome. I mean, it's at the end of the day, the most important thing to me is that people come to these shows and then they leave fans of musicians that maybe they didn't know before.
And it's cool too because everybody's just wandering around. It's kind of like here. Like if you're out there and you're listening, you would go to it because you're going to get to meet whoever you want to listen to. They will be there, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's hanging out and everybody's friends backstage. Yeah. It's just a big group of buddies playing songs together.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else you'd like to talk about, or I just got a couple closing questions, but we can...
No, we can go all day, but we'll save that for the next one. Yeah, what do you got for your questions?
All right. So, first question. Think of your favorite book, movie, TV show, whatever it may be. What character do you think best resembles you?
Oh, dude. That's hard. You know what? Okay, all right, this is funny. Okay, so we all watch Lonesome Dove. This is a joke I always make. We all watch Lonesome Dove, and we all just want to be Gus.
Yeah.
But a lot of us turn out to be Woodrow.
Yeah.
And I turned out to be a Woodrow. Why don't you all go think that roof back up on that barn? I turned out to be a real Woodrow, yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Second question, no, I will not go on a date with you. I'm married.
Okay.
Just kidding. Sorry.
Last question I got is you're sitting in a cold, dark cell. It's your last day. They're going to haul you off to the gallows and hang you come sundown. Somebody stops by your cell and you get to pick your last meal and your last song. What are they going to be?
My last meal, man, it's pretty hard to beat a good steak. I mean, really? That's like, yeah.
And who's cooking it for you?
Autumn's pretty good at it. She put a little time into that because, now it's gotten to the point where we'll kind of go to restaurants and turn our nose up at it a little bit. So, yeah, Autumn's pretty good at it. Yeah.
So your wife is cooking you a steak?
Good steak, cup of coffee. Good cup of coffee, though. I'm a snob. Thanks, Colorado. I'm a coffee snob. Good steak. Yeah, and then a song. Ooh, buddy. Oh, Lord. That's so hard. Jesus, Jake. I mean, it sounds, I hate to say one of my own, but I'm pretty happy with that Sleepless song because that's just me. You know what I mean? One day people get to hear it, but recorded. But that one, if you'd like, whenever that song's out, if you want to know who I am, go listen to that song because that's just that song I wrote for me.
Yeah.
So they can play that one, and then I'll accept my fate and go on.
That was it. That was exactly the song I was thinking, but I wasn't sure if you were.
That's it. I mean,
if that was the one.
I think that's the whole point of it too. That's the one where I go. That is, if I had to throw away all the rest to keep that one, it'd be that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and Sleepless. Several people just this weekend here in Elko you've played it for them, and they've talked about how much impact that's had, just them just hearing it for the first time. So it's recorded, and it will be coming out at some point in the near future. But it's a great song, so you should watch for that one to come out. But where can people find you on the interwebs and find out where you're playing shows and stuff?
Well, of course, you can always find me on Dusty Vaquero. Be sure to check out my many videos and buy a ticket to the festival, ladies and gentlemen. No, but I've got Instagram, and I've tried to do the TikTok thing. Oh, that, dude, okay, that's the challenging thing. That's just because, like, we can do this all day, and I'll play a show, but looking into that little phone and making those videos,
it's tough.
That part, yeah, that's kind of tough. But, yeah, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, so I'm trying to be a good content creator.
Yeah,
I'm doing my best, but it's not good.
And what's your Instagram handle? It's Jimmy Cantwell Music.
Yeah, I think TikTok's the same.
Jimmy Cantwell Music.
Yeah, but
that's where you can find.
You're not going to find me doing those little dances and stuff. So
no TikTok dances.
No.
And he keeps all of his clothes on.
Lately I've been thinking. I thought maybe I'd change it up a little bit, but we'll see.
All right, well, sweet. I sure appreciate you coming over to the hotel and doing this.
Anytime, bud. Anytime.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll see you on the next podcast.
See you on the next one.
Thanks for listening in. Don't forget to head over to dustyvaquerodays.com. You can find festival tickets there. In our store, we have all kinds of different merch. Big thank you to Brendan Scott Green for making the original music for this podcast. Please give us a review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and tell your friends. We'll see you next week.